the radical, fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this Monday, October 21. I always have to check because I'm always lost when it comes to what day of the week it is. All right, we are going to be talking about Israel, Middle East more broadly, and protests and stuff like that. So a bunch of items under the Israel category. We'll talk about the Cuba power outage. We'll talk about the elections. I guess we have to talk about the elections. And McDonald's. Yes, Phil, we will talk about McDonald's. I mean, I think basically Trump has nailed this election. His appearance at McDonald's yesterday, flipping fries. No, he flipped burgers, frying fries. Basically, it looks like it sealed the deal for him. We'll talk about Musk's campaign appearances for Trump. Really interesting. I think that's really interesting. And we'll see where we go from there, right? We'll see where we go from there. A few more other items I've got prepared, but we'll see how we're doing. I want to remind you that this evening, 7 p.m. East Coast time, we've got Robert Mayhew on, and we'll be talking about philosophy. In particular, Robert is a specialist on a Greek philosophy, so we're talking about Plato and Aristotle. Greek philosophy, we'll be talking about Ayn Rand. Robert has written and edited a bunch of books about Ayn Rand, about Ayn Rand's novels, so a lot to talk with Robert about. So we've got Robert on at 7 p.m. Really looking forward to that. I'm not sure if it's the first time he's been on. Maybe it's the first time he's been on. Anyway, that'll be fantastic. Robert's also on the board of directors of the Ayn Rand Institute. And a philosopher, so philosophy questions are always good. And then what else do we have? Reminders. Yeah, two reminders. Reminder for two events. One is in Colorado. We've talked about this. It's an in-person event, post-election. It's going to be an analysis of an election, a projection into the future, how we can save America. It'll be very positive, or to the extent you can be positive after the election. That's November 7th in Colorado, in Denver. It really is going to be a fun event. You'll get hors d'oeuvres and drinks and so on. So you can come, in person, but there are very few seats left. So very few seats left for in-person attendance. On the other hand, you can attend via live stream, which I think is going to be fun because that you can do from anywhere in the country. And I've got the link for the live stream down below. Actually, Miroslav, I think, has just included it. I don't know if that's for the live stream or for the live event, but in the chat, the link also appears in the chat. The link probably broken because the links always break on this stupid YouTube thing. But they're also under the description in YouTube. So hopefully you can sign up for the live stream if you cannot come live. But if you can come live, come live. I think we got a few seats left. It's just going to be fun and it'll be great meeting. And then finally, another event in Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know, you guys being in Nashville, Nashville's a great city. So maybe you guys can come to Nashville, Tennessee. There'll be an event on the day before the Colorado event. So that'll be on the Wednesday, November 6th, the day after the election. And I'm doing a talk there on, God, I can't remember the title. But it's something about the evils of democracy. So the problems with democracy. So if you're in the Tennessee area, if you're in the Nashville area, come on over. Again, the link is here. Now, if these links are not working, and there's a good chance they're not working, then what you can do is go to yaronbrookshow.com, and on the front page of the yaronbrookshow.com, there'll be these two events listed, and there'll be links there. So I really would love if you live in Nashville. Democracy the rule of the mob is the name of the talk. Democracy, the rule of the mob. That'll be fun the day after the election. So if you're interested, and yeah, I'd love to meet you. So if I've got any listeners out there in the Nashville area, please come to Nashville event. If I've got any listeners in the Colorado area, please come to the Colorado event. And if I've got any listeners globally, and I think I have a few thousand, then please sign up for the live stream. Unlike this event, the live streams is not free. It's like $15. The organizer is trying to make a little bit of money, at least pay for the expenses. And the crew, he's got 3 cameras, and they're doing a whole thing to live stream this. It'll be a real professional live stream. So he has to pay for that. So $15. So please sign up for the live stream event. Again, it'll be a lot of fun. You know, Tom, who's going to be with me, and Michael, who's going to be with me, 3 of us are going to do this. They're really, really good guys and really, really interesting. And the conversation is going to be interesting. It's going to go all kinds of directions. And I think we'll feed off of each other really well. And it's unscripted. It's going to be a blast. So $15 for the live stream is a deal. So please sign up for the live stream. All of that on YaronBrookShow.com. That's it, YaronBrookShow.com. That's the URL, the website. New website's not live yet. Any minute now, any day now, any hour now, I don't know when, but soon it should go live. But anyway, on the old site, there is a list of events, and these 2 events are listed there, and you can get the info. All right, let's see. Where are we? Okay, let's talk about what's going on in Israel. I'll bring you up to date. It's like every day something's going on, so we'll talk about this. So yesterday, Israel, overnight, and yesterday, Israel basically decided that its primary target in Lebanon, you know, they've taken out a lot of the Hezbollah infrastructure, a lot of the locations where they know they store the weapon systems, the missiles. They've taken out a lot of the missile launches. They've taken out a lot of the command and control centers. In spite of all that, I will say, Hezbollah still is launching missiles pretty much every day now into Israel. A lot of them targeting Haifa, which is where my parents live. I mean, my parents are spending a lot of time, and you know, they're old, so this is hard for them. But they're spending a lot of time in a room dedicated in their apartment, which is like the air raid shelter. And you know, it's hard because they can barely move. It's hard. It really is. I mean, the sirens go off. They have to move. They have to get into the shelter. They have to stay there for a while. Then the sirens come on again and off again, and then they go back, do what they're doing. Might be sleeping. And then it goes off again, and then they have to go back in. It's unbelievable. And, you know, they're old, so fear plays a huge, when you get older, particularly when you get old, there is you become more emotional, and the fear factor here is amazing. I mean, I've never seen my parents really afraid. And my dad, it really gets to him. I mean, it really gets to him. It's just horrible. He's 89 years old, and it really is a struggle. And I have a brother in Haifa. They have an air raid shelter in their home, so they go in the air raid shelter, the same kind of hassle. I have a sister who lives in the Galilee. Same thing is happening. So, I mean, Hezbollah every day is sending these missiles. So in spite of everything Israel's doing, it has not knocked out the capability of Hezbollah to still launch missiles into Israel. And lately, they've been sending drones. And one of those drones, over the weekend, actually hit. It didn't cause a lot of damage, but actually hit Bibi Netanyahu's house. He has a nice house in Caesarea. Caesarea is between Haifa and Tel Aviv, closer to Haifa than to Tel Aviv, but in the middle there on the coast, beautiful, beautiful location. Caesarea also is home to one of the best preserved and most beautiful Roman amphitheaters in the world. So if you're interested in ancient Rome and you're ever in Israel, Caesarea is a must visit. In that amphitheater, this Roman amphitheater, ancient Roman amphitheater, I saw Paul Simon perform there. I saw Joan Baez. I think I saw Peter, Paul, and Mary, although I think I saw them twice because I also saw them in Jerusalem. Anyway, singers that you guys probably don't know who they are, but anyway, amazing place for concerts. You can kind of hear the waves crashing in the background because it's right on the water. It's beautiful. Anyway, it hit the residence of Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. And Bibi, and kind of everybody went apoplectic. It's like, you can launch missiles at my parents all day long, and, Israel, people upset, and they want to do something about it, and they, really, Hezbollah needs to stop doing this. But, you attack the Prime Minister of Israel, and now it's a national emergency. Now we're committed to going after you. You have crossed a red line. Screw that. What red line? Why the hell is the Prime Minister's life more important than the people he is supposed to serve? Why the hell is that a red line and not everyday missiles against residential areas in Israel a red line? It just pisses me off as if these political leaders are special. It's the same, the same thing happened. There was assassination attempts on Trump, and some of them are linked supposedly to Iran. And Biden tweets, or somebody tweets for Biden, whatever. If the Iranians try to assassinate Trump, that constitutes a declaration of war. Why? Why doesn't it constitute a declaration of war if the Iranians kill Joe Schmo from middle of nowhere? What's so special about Trump? And this is not an anti-Trump thing. What's so special about somebody running for president? I'm sorry, it pisses me off. The job of Trump, Biden, Netanyahu is to protect the civilian population of the country. They should be at the front lines, in a sense. Not really, right? They're too incompetent to be at the front lines. But they're the ones who, this is their job. They're putting their lives at risk. It's their job. Just like firemen and policemen and certainly military personnel put their life in danger for their job. So do political leaders. It's not the job of the civilians. It's not the job of my parents. And therefore, they're the ones who need protection. They're the ones who you should be upset that Hezbollah is attacking, not Bibi. Bibi's a legit target. And yet, everybody's going, oh, this has crossed the red line. Now, Israel can go after political leaders in Iran or whatever. It could go after them before. They were trying to kill Israelis, have been trying to kill Israelis they killed them on October 7th. That's partially Iran's fault. That justifies killing the leader of Iran. You don't have to go after the prime minister to justify killing your president. I mean, that's bizarre. But that's the kind of attitude where politics is important. Politicians are superior. This is a top-down, hierarchical, aristocratic, and ultimately authoritarian view. It's not America. George Washington would be horrified by such an attitude. Of course, he was on the front lines. So, anyway, had a comment on that. By the way, still no attack by Israel on Iran. Still nothing. We're still waiting. And now, I thought, okay, maybe tonight. But then I hear that Blinken, negotiate, sell everything, your soul, everything, just negotiate. Can't kill the bad guys, just negotiate, Blinken. Anyway, negotiate Blinken, compromise Blinken, appease Blinken, is flying to the Middle East, is flying to Israel today. So do you think they're going to attack Iran when Blinken is in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv? I mean, maybe. I don't think so. So when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? And they're promising this tough response. really tough, really strong. Just a strong, manly response. I'll believe it when I see it, and so far I'm not seeing it. It's not happening. What the hell is going on? Not happening. Betrayal of Israelis and betrayal of, reason, rationality, Western civilization, whatever you want to call it. Capitalist spy just came in with, and they targeted Bibi's home. Who cares if they targeted Bibi's home? I'll repeat this again. They targeted the homes of lots of Israelis. What makes Bibi special? Nothing. All right, so where are we? So Iran, the attack is not happening. Yeah, I mean, also over the weekend, the authorities, people discovered some secret plans of Israel, the Israeli mission to attack Iran, online on Telegram, being distributed by Iranian sources. How did they get them? How did they get Israel's secret plans? Well, it turns out everybody believes that these were leaked by the Americans, by somebody in the Pentagon or somebody in the Biden administration. Somebody is leaking top secret Israeli documents to the Iranians on Telegram. And when you look at some of the people working for the Biden administration, this is not surprising. There's a bunch of people working in very, very sensitive positions in the Biden administration that have to do with foreign policy, who are people who, in their youth, worked for justice, for Students for Justice for Palestine. You know, these are far-left, anti-Israeli nutcases who are now in important positions in government. Again, if your issue is Israel, if that is your deciding issue in this election, I don't know how you can vote for Kamala. If that is your issue, right? I don't think that should be the only issue, but if that is the issue, because these people are just horrific. Anyway, there's an investigation. Biden's upset. He said he's upset, at least. And he is launching an investigation to find out who leaked these documents. It could be that part of the delay for attacking the Iranians is the Iranians know what's coming, and Israel has to rejig its plans because the Americans are leaking like a sieve. In addition, this weekend, a lot is going on. I didn't even realize before I started talking how much is going on. Israel arrested 7 Israelis, Jewish Israelis, and they are going to be arraigned for spying for Iran. So they have provided the Iranians with information on Israeli Air Force bases, the ones targeted by Iran's ballistic missiles. They have provided Iran of information on other facilities like where the Mossad buildings and other places around Israel. And they have just been arrested and will be tried for treason under Israeli law, spying for Iran. So, the people spying, for Israel in Iran, and the Iranians and the Israelis spying for Iran. It's sad that anybody would spy for Iran, given the kind of regime they're spying for. But money speaks, and they are pragmatists, and they are appeasers, and they are people who will sell their soul for a buck. And that is the nature of most spies. But you know, it really is horrible, really is horrible. But anyway, there are Iranian spies in Israel. All right, so we've covered that. Okay, a few other things to cover. Israel last night started bombing. As I said, they've bombed infrastructure, the command and control, rocket launches, rocket bases, although again, there's still rockets are still being launched and all that. There's still drones being launched. Yesterday, Israel changed strategies a little bit and started bombing economic interests of Hezbollah. Hezbollah is, of course, deeply embedded into the economy in Lebanon. It both it generates massive amounts of revenue, huge amounts of money from the drug trade. It is again immersed in and integrated into the global drug trade. It provides services for many. Hezbollah has vast links in South America and Central America, and of course all over the Middle East, and it makes a lot of money off the drug trade. Iran, it also gets money from Iran, and it also has economic interests within Lebanon. Since banks who deal with Hezbollah are sanctioned by the United States and therefore find it very difficult to do international transactions and to deal with internationally, Hezbollah had to create its own bank in order to facilitate the money that it makes and the allocation of that money and provide its members with banking services and everything else. So there is a Hezbollah bank in Lebanon with branches all over the country. Well, yesterday Israel attacked the bank. It blew up its main headquarters in Beirut and then also blew up a number of different branches and facilities and probably database centers and stuff like that all over Lebanon. So Israel explicitly, they said in advance they were going to bomb, so they cleared out the civilian population, and then they bombed all these banks. There's a, most of these banks are in civilian buildings, bottom floor of a building. They still bombed them, and you can see at least one high-rise yesterday just collapsing as they blew up the bank at the bottom. Hopefully this really hurts Hezbollah. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell where they back up their data, where, today banking is mostly electronic. The physical places don't matter. It's not clear how symbolic this is or how real this is, but hopefully it hurts them. Today, Israel said it would launch a large number of additional attacks on Hezbollah tonight. That was about an hour ago. So again, they're letting particular civilian locations know to evacuate so that they can bomb. I don't know how long they're going to do this. It could be quite a while that they do this before they actually cause real damage, I guess, to Hezbollah. All right. So that's what's going on. And now we'll probably see a continuation of these kind of bombings of economic interests. They're trying to find ways to weaken Hezbollah, to destroy its capacity to exist as an organization, so that the Lebanese hopefully will get the guts and courage to actually go and shut Hezbollah down. At the end of the day, it's going to have to be the Lebanese themselves that do this. Israel's probably not going to invade and occupy Lebanon for a large period of time to be able to facilitate the complete destruction of Hezbollah. The Lebanese themselves are going to have to do it. Israel's doing the hard work for them of really, really weakening this organization. I talk about Hezbollah. As Israel's entered Lebanon, southern Lebanon, it encounters the forces of the UN, UNIFIL. The UN has bases in southern Lebanon because, according to Resolution 1701, I think it is, the UN has established bases in southern Lebanon to monitor and to make sure that Hezbollah does not establish itself in southern Lebanon, and to help disarm Hezbollah, which is the ultimate goal of UNIFIL, is the disarmament of Hezbollah, and to get rid of Hezbollah from southern Lebanon, and ultimately get rid of it as a military force. But as we've seen, and as has been seen, in spite of southern Lebanon is basically filled with Hezbollah bases, tunnels, weapons depots, homes with rocket launches and ammunition supplies. And Hezbollah runs southern Lebanon. So what the hell is UNIFIL doing there? Nothing, basically. Absolutely nothing. And UNIFIL was even complaining earlier that Israel asked them to get out of the way because they were just disrupting Israel's ability to function in the area. Indeed, they were probably spying for Hezbollah. Israel found tunnels, rocket launchers, like 50 meters from UNIFIL bases and what do you call it? Observation points. What were they observing exactly? Hezbollah doing their job. So one of the questions is, what's going on here? How come UNIFIL allowed Hezbollah to build all these tunnels and all these bases and all these weapons depots and all these rocket launches in territory that UNIFIL was supposed to run? Now, UNIFIL's always been a joke. I remember driving along the Israeli-Lebanese border years and years ago, maybe 10 plus years ago. And you could see across the border, and you could see the UNIFIL little observation points, and they'd have the UN flag flying. Like 10 meters next to it, like just next to it, you would see like a bunch of Hezbollah people flying the Hezbollah flag off of a Jeep or off of a little thing they had. And they were right there, and they were associated with one another. The one was supposed to get rid of the other, but they were chummy and friendly, and you could see it with your own eyes. Well, now it turns out, right, that according to captured Hezbollah terrorists, Hezbollah was actually paying UNIFIL, or at least bribing the people on the ground at UNIFIL, to use their outposts against Israel, and even using UNIFIL's own surveillance cameras and observation points in order to spy on the Israelis. So they were literally being bribed. Literally taking money. And of course, the Irish, who are unbelievably anti-Israel in Ireland, they have a big contingency there. And they were outraged when Israel asked them to evacuate and actually shot some tank shells in their direction to give them the message that they needed to leave. How dare they? Well, Israel should go in there and arrest these people for working with the terrorists and kick them out of there. And if they need to use force, they should use force. UNIFIL is a joke. Well, it's worse than a joke. It's an evil joke. It's an evil organization, just like UNRWA, which works with and for the terrorists, all under the banner of the so-called United Nations. They're not, well, they're united maybe in the cause of evil, in the cause of destruction, in the cause of anti-West. Truly, truly horrific and despicable. These are collaborators, and they should be treated as such. They should be treated as such. Let's see. Okay, just a few updates on Gaza. So over the weekend, again, Israel is launching a significant move into some of the areas in northern Gaza that they hadn't moved into before. They're evacuating a pretty large town in the northern part of Gaza, and post the killing of Sinwar, I think people are leaving, in a much more hurried way as before. For some reason, now they figure Israel's serious, not after Israel's kind of flattened their entire existence. But during this operation, Israel actually lost its most senior officer so far in the war, a colonel, head of a brigade, a tank brigade, as he exited his tank and went to on observation points with two other senior Israeli commanders. He stepped on a booby trap, on an explosive that blew him up and killing him and injuring the other two senior commanders. A huge blow. The colonel who was killed has a long history in the Israeli army, won many awards, is medals, not awards, but won many medals. Actually not a Jew. Interesting, right? He's a Druze who's reached colonel in the Israeli military, a kind of a very, very senior person within the Israeli tank corps, and a real hero, and has been a hero for 20 plus years of his service in the Israeli military. Really horrible, really sad, and it just frustrates me because this war is dragging out in ways that it really shouldn't, and it continues. Sinwar's death is not going to end this. It's not going to end this. Israel still has to get tough, still has to get serious. It still has to make the Palestinians understand that Israel is not going anywhere, and they are losers, that the Palestinians are losers. They have to make them suffer even more than they're suffering now, and make it so that it's permanent. I saw a Palestinian who doesn't live, of course, in the Israel territory in Gaza, a Palestinian broad on television saying, he's going, Israel is losing. The Jews are all leaving Israel. All the European Jews are going back to Europe. They're abandoning Israel. Israel is about to fold. Israel is about to collapse. It's the end of Israel. Where do these people live? And of course, as long as they believe that, and Palestinians do believe it, they should go visit Israel sometime and see what's going on there. As long as they believe it, they will continue to fight. People fight for what they think is a winning cause. If they're convinced it's a losing cause, they stop fighting. Israel has to convince them it's a losing cause. One of the problems is, and one of the reasons they continue to believe this, is appeasement. Israeli appeasement and American appeasement. So one of the things, again, that came out over the weekend is documents taken from Sinwar, the head of Hamas, who was killed last week. Israel had found his various tunnels he had been hiding in, and they got a lot of intelligence out of there. Basically, by going tunnel after tunnel after tunnel, they forced him above ground, and that's how he got killed. But when they found all this stuff, where they found the compounds that Sinwar was in, they found all these documents, they found a lot of communication going back and forth between him and the Hamas leaders overseas about the negotiations. And one of the things Sinwar keeps saying in the communications is, Israel is weak. They are weakening. Our negotiating position will only get stronger. And what does he give as evidence? One, Biden is very upset at Netanyahu, and he's fed up with this war, and he's putting more and more pressure on Netanyahu. And, the Israelis are under huge amount of pressure from the Americans to cut a deal. The longer we wait, the more pressure there will be, the better deal we will get. Two, the demonstrations within Israel against Netanyahu's government and against, he says, and the opposition's argument about the hostages. In Israel, the government is under huge pressure to appease and to accommodate and to cut any kind of deal to get the hostages. Just wait it out. They will fold. He writes about the cracks within the government itself, the infighting, and the interest of so many people within Israel to cut a deal with Hamas as a sign that if they just wait it out, they'll get a much better deal. Appeasement breeds appeasement. Appeasement breeds appeasement. The more, and the more we advocate for appeasement, the more pressure there is to appease, the bolder the bad guys get. The bolder the bad guys get. finally, there is a video of a Hezbollah official being interviewed. And one of the things he says in this interview is, quote, "We're currently investing in protests and demonstrations in Western countries, especially among college students." So all that drug money I mentioned, all that money from Iran is being used. It's being used to try to shape public opinion in the West. It's being used to create pressure on the Israeli government. It's being used to format and to fund and to incite protests on American campuses. So these are not just innocent students who really believe and whatever. I mean, some of them may be. But this is an orchestrated effort by the enemies of the United States and the enemies of Israel to create internal strife. And particularly, they see the vulnerable point as American universities. So when you see these demonstrations, they cost money, and that money's coming from Hezbollah. And maybe that's why Israel attacking the banks will help. Maybe that'll disrupt their ability to use that money, to move that money. I doubt it. I think they're probably pretty sophisticated about that, but maybe. Finally, relating to the universities and the protests, I thought you'd want some good news. Once in a while, we have a little bit of good news coming up, right? Donations to Harvard University this year dropped by 15% in comparison to 2023. The greatest decline in donations in nearly a decade. The lower donations are linked to widespread dissatisfaction with elite universities' handling of anti-Semitism on campus. I mean, the only question I have, and I'm serious, the only question I have is who are the 85% who are still giving money to Harvard? On what basis? For what? Oh, I know. Maybe it's Hezbollah. Maybe it's Iran. But I have to say a 15% decline is good, but a little disappointing. Given that, I know of a few people who've stopped giving Harvard money who are giving them hundreds, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. Where's everybody else? Or let me ask you guys, if there's anybody out there as a Harvard alum, are you still giving Harvard money? Even if it's a small amount? Are you still sanctioning the evil that is the Harvard administration as being perpetuated by Harvard professors? My guess is you're just giving to the business school, and the business school is okay. Really? Or you're just giving to the sciences. But whatever, you're writing a check to Harvard University. You are sanctioning the evil coming out of Harvard University. The anti-business, anti-American, anti-Israeli, pro-hate, pro-socialism, anti-Western civilization attitudes that exist at Harvard University. Stop giving money to the universities. And in particular, stop giving money to Harvard. Remember, on October 8th, 31 student organizations came out. On October 8th, supporting Hamas's massacre of October 7th. And yet people still keep giving this university money and still treating its graduates as something special because they come from Harvard. All right. I think we covered all that. All right. Reminder, you can ask questions. $20, $50, $100 questions get priority. But you can ask questions all the way from $2 to $10 as well. You could do it using the super chat. The 152 people watching right now. That's great. On YouTube, another 100 on Twitter. And yeah, please use that to support the show. You can also use a sticker. And we did have one really big sticker here that I saw. Yeah, Tassos, thank you, $50. Really, really appreciate that. Really appreciate the support. Ryan, thank you for the sticker as well. And Nevfel started us off with a sticker right at the beginning. Really appreciated. So thank you guys. Thanks for the support. So you too can support the show through a sticker. All right. Talk about socialism. Carolina, thank you. Carolina from Mexico. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Trying to arrange a talk in Mexico City in March. I think I'm coming to Mexico City in March. Not finalized yet, but working on it. All right, socialism. Let's talk about socialism. Everybody hear about the power outage in Cuba? Couldn't happen to nicer people. Basically, Cuba has, the electric grid in Cuba has just collapsed last week. The fourth failure in 48 hours. So we're not just talking about a little piece of the grid. We're talking about the entire system collapsing. Now, not because of a hurricane. No heavy winds, although a hurricane is hitting parts of Cuba now, but this collapsed way before the hurricane. Not because of anything specific. Cuba's national electric grid basically crashed. It started on Friday and went through the weekend 4 times. Basically, this is a crash not caused by a hurricane, no tornadoes, no rain, caused by socialism. Caused by socialism. Right? So, if you run your country on a socialist agenda, yeah, your electricity will collapse. Basically, what they've got is aging infrastructure. It doesn't work. Something fails that kind of goes through the system, causing everything else to fail. Now, it's true, Texas has had some power failures, and California's had some power failures, but none, affecting this scope and this long. So it is going to be interesting to see how long it takes them to get it back up and how long it'll last once it's up, because on Sunday, the entire capital of Havana was blanked out, and just scattered businesses and homes have generators, and they could function given the generators. People use battery-powered radios and stuff to listen to music and things, but other than that, the place was gone. And it's going to be difficult for Cuba, because how do you fix this? They don't have the incentives, the infrastructure, the mechanisms by which to get the power system back up and steady and functioning for a while, right? So. Who knows? And with the hurricane now hitting parts of Cuba, hard to tell when Cuba will actually get its power up. Very difficult for Cubans. They are poor, very, very poor. Poor without electricity. Very difficult life. Fascinating that Cuba these days is getting advice from the Chinese. Cuba's quite close to China. And the Chinese are fairly upset at the Cubans, right? So here's a quote from the Financial Times about Cuba and China. Financial Times, quote, China publicly supports Cuba's right to choose its own path to economic development, or economic stagnation, or economic regression, or economic suicide, however you want to phrase it. That's me. That's not the Financial Times. So again, Financial Times says, China's publicly supports Cuba's right to choose its own path to economic development in line with its national conditions. But privately, Chinese officials have long urged the Cuban leadership to shift from its vertically planned economy to something closer to the Chinese model, according to economists and diplomats briefed on the situation. Chinese officials have been perplexed and frustrated at the Cuban leadership's unwillingness to decisively implement a market oriented reform program, despite the glaring dysfunction of the status quo. So China is lecturing Cuba on the benefits of a market-oriented economy, and that they don't understand why Cuba is insisting on sticking with its socialism when socialism is so passé. It's so passé. They really need to give up on this old idea of socialism and embrace market orientation, market-oriented economy. It's a good day. I mean, I'm glad it's a good day where China is lecturing the world on the benefits of a market-oriented system. Now, of course, it's why China has risen from the horrible economy that it had, because it adopted elements of capitalism. It adopted market orientation. In spite of everything, China is not communist. China is not socialist. It redistributes very little wealth. China is much more of a fascist state than anything else, but it has elements of capitalist. It has parts of an economy that are quite market-oriented, call it that. And it has a strong system of pseudo-pretend property rights. But that beats having zero property rights and having a completely 100% centralized economy like Cuba. And the Chinese know it because they tried it under Mao. And they're encouraging the Cubans to loosen up a little bit. Loosen up a little bit. Private property, market orientation, much better for you. And they can't understand why the Cubans are so dedicated to socialism. Maybe power has something to do with it. All right. We have to talk about elections because it's elections. I mean, who just voted? Somebody just said they voted. Somebody, Soupy Cask just voted. So I'm sure some of you are voting. I can't vote because I live in Puerto Rico, so we don't vote for president, but president vote. Okay, so let me say a few things about the elections. I mean, I won't say what I always say, how pathetic it is that you've got these two people. But let me warn you about a few things. One, basically the polls have this tied. It could go either way. It's still a coin flip. Momentum is clearly on Trump's side. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it's hard to tell whether that momentum will continue for the next 2 weeks. If it does, he'll probably win or not. You know, it depends what happens over the next 2 weeks. Poll results have it basically tied. Everything is within a margin of error. Everything. From the national numbers to the 7 battleground states. Right? So just be careful. I still think at this point that Trump's going to win, but I don't have strong conviction because the numbers don't show it. Now, the models, not the polls, the models. The models use polls and a bunch of other information, and they rank the polls based on which are reliable and which are not. The models seem to have overall shifted from 2 weeks ago, giving a slight edge in terms of probability of victory to Kamala, to today giving a slight edge probability to Donald Trump to win. Remember, these are the same kind of models that predicted that Hillary Clinton in 2016 would win, and they gave her a probability of 97%, I believe. So it's just a probability. Until the vote happens, nobody knows. Nobody really knows. And in the polls, if the polls are as wrong as they were in 2020, put aside 2016, if the polls were as wrong as they were in 2020, then Trump is going to win this easily. If the polls are as wrong as they were in 2022, Kamala Harris is going to win this easily. So the bottom line is, and this is what I want you to, I know it's hard. Nobody knows. Really, nobody knows. You don't know. I don't know. The experts don't know. The models don't know. The pollsters don't know. They don't know. This is about as close of an election, at least it looks like it's going to be as close as an election you get. And it could be a landslide. It doesn't take much. If, for example, all 7 states, battleground states, go for one candidate, then it'll be a landslide. What is interesting is that, of course, the key battleground state, the battleground state that might land up determining it all, is the battleground state that we knew from the beginning would probably be the one that will determine it all. And that's Pennsylvania. And you have to just wonder how Kamala was stupid enough not to pick the governor of Pennsylvania as her running mate. We were told there was no chemistry. Who the F cares about chemistry? Don't you want to win? Worry about chemistry after you win. I mean, if she had picked Shapiro, I think she'd be favored right now, because she'd be favored to win Pennsylvania. With Waltz, she has nothing. No appeal anyway. She's nothing. It added nothing. Now, maybe she didn't want him because he's Jewish and she was afraid to lose Michigan. She might land up losing Michigan anyway. But it doesn't matter. Even if she wins Michigan, if she loses Pennsylvania, she'd have to win a bunch of other stuff, which she won't, in order to compensate for it. Anyway, too close to call. And I know a lot of people are pretty confident, but that's the way it is. Finally, relating to the election, and then we've got one other topic if we have time. God, did you see all the photos of Donald Trump at McDonald's? I mean, these could have been the photos that won him the election. I mean, people love seeing Donald Trump working the frying machine, working the cash register, taking orders at McDonald's. This is what people want? Really? Now, I know this is kind of making fun of the fact that Kamala Harris said she worked at McDonald's and nobody believes her. But how is working at McDonald's, particularly in your 70s, how does this matter? How is this important? How is this relevant? I mean, if this helps Trump, and I believe that at least Trump believes it helps Trump, because that's why he's doing it, then the American electorate is as stupid as maybe I thought it was, or maybe more stupid than I thought it was. I mean, Trump's got it down. I'm watching video of him now working the frying machine, and he's really got it down. Look at that. He's shaking out the oil from the fries. Really beautifully done. Beautifully, beautifully. I mean, God, they should hire him permanently in McDonald's. Adam says it made him want to get McDonald's fries. God, I don't know why. Donald Trump touched them. I mean, look, I don't know. This is about as low as it gets. It's stupid. It's ignorant. It's what is big deal here? Donald Trump did not have to work at McDonald's. His father gave him a $50-something million check, I think, to start his business. And Adam says he was just kidding. Good. Whew. I'm relieved. Whew. By the way, on, what was it, Saturday or Friday? I think it was. One of the top stories, Saturday, one of the top stories in the Wall Street Journal, was this beautiful picture of Donald Trump shaking hands with RFK. And what is the title of the story? The title is, Trump backs RFK Jr.'s war on junk food. Trump backs RFK Jr.'s war on junk food. That's Saturday at the Wall Street Journal. Monday morning, front page of the Wall Street Journal is a picture of Donald Trump at McDonald's handing people their junk food. Their junk food. But he's going to engage in a war on junk food. Junk food. You got to laugh because what else is there? This is like election time is the stupidest time. It's stupid time. All these people are just stupid. Except for, I think, Trump's number one campaign, what do you call it, surrogate, who is actively campaigning in Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is the deciding factor. And that is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is actively engaged in campaigning for Donald Trump all over Pennsylvania, I think primarily around the Philadelphia area, but really all over the place. And it's fascinating to watch. Because at the end of the day, Elon exudes something that no politician does, and that people, I don't think, fully appreciate. Elon exudes a certain self-esteem, a certain confidence that comes from having purpose in your life. Irrational purpose. Put aside what he says about Trump and what he believes about Trump, and if Kamala wins, it's the end of Western civilization, all that stuff that Elon Musk says. The people coming there to watch Musk, and it's mainly young men, not surprising, are not there to hear a spiel about Donald Trump, even though they'll probably vote for Donald Trump because Elon said so. But they come in there to see a legend. And he does a Q&A, and he answers questions. They're coming there to see the man behind SpaceX, behind Tesla, behind Neuralink, behind Boring Company. Boring from, not from bored, but from boring in the ground, right? Here's a quote from the Wall Street Journal article about Elon Musk's appearances. They say, well, some critics want to simply chalk up Musk's antics to toxic masculinity. That's bizarre. I mean, Musk, toxic masculinity. Musk doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's going to beat up on people or treat women badly or anything like that. Now, you know, he has impregnated a lot of women, and he has a lot of kids outside of marriage, which is interesting. Don't you think that religious conservatives love him so much, and yet he's got all these kids outside of marriage with a bunch of different women, and he would like a lot more. That is, his goal in life is to impregnate, I guess, a lot of women, have lots of babies. Not exactly Christian conservative, don't you think? But Elon is masculine. He's masculine in the sense of commanding his environment. He's masculine in the sense of unbelievably successful. He's masculine in a sense of wanting to go to Mars and putting all the pieces in place to make it happen. I mean, Musk is much more of the model of masculinity that I think people should be emulating than is, what's that guy in Romania? I forget his name, the idiot in Romania. Or even the kind of masculinity that even Jordan Peterson talks about. He's a masculinity of the mind. He's the masculinity of the engineer. He's the masculinity of a man who changes the world. So I don't think it's toxic. It's the opposite. It's the exact opposite of toxic. It's enriching, flourishing masculinity. But he is, you know, he is the richest man in the world for good reason. He's created a massive amount of wealth. And that's what makes him masculine. Yeah, Andrew Tate is horrible. So let me go on. While critics want to simply chalk up Musk's antics to toxic masculinity, this is in the Wall Street Journal, which is sometimes probably true, not true. Quote, he stands as a hero to many young men, saying the stuff they're thinking, chasing dreams they wish they had the courage to imagine, coming to their town to fight the fight. Now, the key here, the key phrase in the sentence is chasing dreams they wish they had the courage to imagine. Chasing dreams they wish they had the courage to imagine. That's what Musk at his best represents to people. The audacity, the courage, the valuing, the passionate pursuit of values. That's what makes Musk Musk. That's what makes him exciting and interesting, and people flock to go listen to him speak and attend his Q&A and be able to say, I attended an Elon Musk rally. He dreams great dreams. He sets himself great goals. He pursues great values. Values that nobody else would even dream of believing were possible. Here's the continuation of the Wall Street Journal article. Yes, Musk has unfathomable wealth. More than that, though. To them, Musk has something more precious than wealth. Purpose. Purpose. Purpose is one of the three cardinal values in objectivism. Having purpose is what will shape your life. Without purpose, you probably cannot attain happiness. And to see the Wall Street Journal identify that, and identified it at Musk. Yes, Musk has unfathomable wealth. More than that, more than the wealth, more important than wealth to the people listening to it. Musk has something more precious, purpose. For certain young men in Pennsylvania and elsewhere who feel left behind, that's the new American dream. Purpose. And Musk is showing them that. Now that's exciting. I get a little teary-eyed because that's exactly what they need. They need purpose, and not purpose in the Jordan Peterson sense of, something out there to make other people find purpose in helping other people and taking responsibility for other people's problems. And no, I mean, Elon Musk has this unbelievably, unequivocally selfish purpose. He wants to go to Mars. And he wants humanity to go to Mars. Now, he can justify it as this will save humanity. Not really. I mean, population is shrinking on Earth, so we don't have exactly a population explosion over here that we need to colonize other planets. But he wants, and he sees man as going to Mars, and he sees that as important, and he sees that as valuable, and that's his value, and he is seeking that as his career, as his purpose. So, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. He's got incredibly work ethic, incredible productiveness, and he has great purpose. And it's a good purpose. I'm all for going to Mars. Thumbs up. All right. That is, I believe that is the news. Purpose in the Wall Street Journal. Purpose as Elon Musk's thing. That's exciting for that to be identified. All right, guys. So far, Super Chat is doing great for the first hour and a half. We still got to catch up on that second hour stuff. We're about $150 short, so please consider asking some more questions. We're really rolling today, so thank you to everybody who's already been here. I want to remind everybody that Robert Mayhew is going to be on tonight, a philosopher, objectivist philosopher, specialist in ancient philosophy. So come on over and ask questions if you're interested in Greek philosophy, if you're interested in objectivism, if you're interested in philosophy more broadly. 7 p.m., so just in 2.5 hours, well, 3 hours almost, he'll be on and we'll be discussing his interest in Greek philosophy, Plato, Aristotle, and in his interest in objectivism, and taking your questions about objectivism or anything else. So feel free to show up and participate. Also, let me remind everybody, those of you watching this, not live, or listening to this, you can help the Yaron Brook Show thrive, expand, grow, by supporting the Yaron Brook Show. You can do so on Patreon, patreon.com, www.patreon.com, which is just put Yaron Brook Show there and you can support it. And then you can also do it on PayPal, Yaron Brook Show, or go to yaronbrookshow.com/membership, and you can support the show that way. So please consider supporting the Yaron Brook Show. All right. Hunter just came in with like a $200 question. Hunter, thank you. That's amazing. Amazing. Thank you. All right, let me take the Hunter question. Hunter says, I asked a question that sparked the recent Rules for Life. Thank you. When I copied it over, I didn't copy your name, so I apologize for that. But thank you for that question. It was a good question. The bit on Musk today felt like a small extension of it. Yes, not on purpose. Or maybe the segment yesterday conditioned my mind to elevate the story to where it is and to talk about it. But yes, purpose is a universal value. We all need purpose. Purpose is a value necessary for human survival. And I'm talking about individual human survival. You need to have purpose in your life in order to survive as a human being. You can survive as an animal. You can survive as a leech or as a parasite. But to survive as a human being, you need to have purpose. And that's a universal value. The personal value, this is me riffing off of what we did yesterday and applying it to what we just talked about. The personal value for Musk is that for him, the specific purpose is going to Mars. That's his career. That's the value that he's chosen as his purpose. Purpose is a universal value. Going to Mars, very specific, very personal to Musk. And Musk has reasons for why he wants to go to Mars. So it's not an irrational, whim-based. He not only does he have reasons, but he's put in place a multi-decade-long plan. Remember, SpaceX has been around for 20 years. A multi-decade-long plan to achieve the goal. The goal is in 20, 30, 40 years to be achieved. It's already done 20 years. I mean, how many people think on that scale? And people tell me, oh, capitalism is short-term. Businessmen only think short-term. Yeah, right. Capitalists are the ones who think the most long-term. And Musk is the best example of that, even though anybody who built a railroad in the 19th century, any banker who funded fiber optics in the ground in the 1980s, they all thought long-term. Otherwise, their investment made no sense. No sense. All right, I just remind everybody, I did a show Saturday on values. It was part of my Rules for Life shows. Please go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it, particularly those of you who like the Rules for Life series. It's, I think, a part of that, adjacent to that. The show is already live. It's on the podcast platforms, and it's on YouTube, and it's in the playlist for Rules for Life, which has now, I think, 20 videos on the Rules for Life playlist. I'll keep doing Rules for Life periodically. And let me just say, in support of Hunter here, if you have an idea for a rules of life-like episode, something that you think would be incredibly valuable to clarify about life, about objectivism, about how to live your life, about ethics, about morality, about living, then let me know. Yep, put it in a super chat. That way I'll put it on the list and I'll try to do the shows, just like I responded to Hunters by actually doing the show, because it made sense. It resonated. All right. Oh, you got a couple of $50 ones. So let's do the $50. Let's start with Remo, who got here really early before the show and asked us questions. Thoughts on Jacob Schiff? How would you rank Jacob Schiff compared to J.P. Morgan and Michael Milken? Because currently I'm reading The Money Kings by Daniel Schuman. I recommend it. I think you would like it. Thanks for the recommendation. I'll look for that. I'm always looking for good books to read. I don't know that much about Jacob Schiff. I know he was one of the great bankers of the 19th century. He was probably the most visible Jewish banker in Wall Street in the 19th and 20th century. He was crucial to the funding and the investment in the railroad industry. Was a competitor to J.P. Morgan, a competitor to J.J. Hill. Very successful. Was almost a billionaire by today's standards. Really one of the great bankers of history. But there were a lot of people like that. So I don't think Jacob Schiff would rise to the level of J.P. Morgan and Michael Milken, who are both revolutionaries. And there's maybe another handful of financiers like that whose names I don't have off the cuff. Jacob Schiff is probably one tier below that. Still a giant, super influential, was critical in the foundation, for example, of Citibank. Citibank, what today is Citibank, at the time was, I think, called City National or something like that. And crucial in the funding of railroads, crucial in the investment banking business. He was part of Loeb Investment Bank. He ran the bank for a long time. Yeah, and it was a major figure in New York during the period of industrialization. The period of industrialization could not have happened without the bankers financing it. And he was one of a handful of bankers who made that happen. Not on the scale of a J.P. Morgan, who really saw the biggest deals in history and just was a mover and shaker that everybody intersected with. But certainly one notch down, if you will, a giant in his own right. So, but I don't know a lot more than that. But surely, yeah, amazing. There were a lot of people who made America possible, and some of them from J.P. Morgan to Jacob Schiff to the Rockefellers and the Carnegies and the rest of them, just giants. Thank you, Remo. On the Leroy, have a great week, Yaron. Thank you. On the Leroy. Oh, another $50 here with Michael. Michael, thank you. Michael says, leftists are more intellectual than their collectivism. Not sure what that means. They don't need a cult of personality. They can suffice off nutty ideas like woke and class warfare. Fascists and right-wing collectivists seem to need one strong man to follow. Interesting. I think that's probably right. I think that the lefts, generally, the left is, how would you call it? It just reminded me of something. Let me just write the thing that is reminding. I'll talk about that tomorrow. Okay. The left is more intellectual, more abstract, more conceptual. So it's animated by conceptual ideas that are more abstract. I think fascism is much more concrete. So the left has the proletarian and the worker as the most concrete, but it also has woke, and it has, these are abstractions, relatively speaking, and the whole Marxist dialectic and Marxist utopia and Marxist, it's all somewhat abstract as compared to the flag, the nation, they're both very material and concrete at the end of the day. So why is one more focused on personality than the other? I don't know. It does seem that way. Maybe not. Okay, so Michael, I'll challenge you. Socialism in Venezuela very much tied to Chavez. There is no socialism in Venezuela without Chavez. Very much personality cult. Would communism in China be successful if not for Mao Zedong and the whole personality worship around Mao? So no, I think at the end of the day, these ideas, particularly when taken to kind of a political extreme, a political manifestation, ultimately lead to some kind of personality worship because they're all mindless, materialistic, collectivistic. I'll think about it some more, but that's what I think right now. Christian. Yeah, look at Cuba and Castro. Good one, Enric. Absolutely. Good one. Christian. Israel was praised on X for treating the body of Sinwar with respect. If theoretically it would help to win by installing fear, would it be justified to do something barbaric with it, like feeding it to swine? Sure, if it actually helped. I mean, why not? It's dead. It doesn't matter, right? There, one of the best authors on the right attitude to war was Terry Goodkind. I don't know how many of you have ever read Terry Goodkind. His fantasy novels. Again, maybe not great literature, but there's some scenes that are really, really, really good. And there is one in particular that I think of. I think it's in book 2 of his massive sort of truth series, in which the heroine goes in a battle naked, painted white, to elicit a ghost. And the attitude towards victory and doing whatever it takes to win and instilling just a fear of God or Allah or whoever you want into the enemy is just really brilliant. I need to find that because I once quoted it in a lecture I gave. I need to find the quote and I'll read it to you because I think it's very relevant. I don't know if I have my Terry Goodkind books here. I think I do. I think I have book 2 somewhere. I'll look for it. Robert, I will not be voting for Trump, and since I'm in Michigan, a big-time swing state, that means my vote will be decisive. And so Trump will lose. He will be the loser again. He'll, to borrow a phrase, get the hell out of my way. That'll be great. I hope he loses. I'm not sure he will. But maybe Robert's vote will be the deciding vote in Michigan, and Trump will lose. I'm a big supporter of Trump losing. I'm not a supporter of Kamala winning, but I'm a big supporter of Trump losing. So it has to, his type of politics, his type of attitude, his type of whatever you want to call it, has to be defeated. Has to be defeated, even if the cost is 4 years of Kamala Harris. Sad to even say that. All right. Let me just say, we got a couple of sponsors. One sponsor is the Ayn Rand Institute. Ayn Rand Institute is, educates people about the philosophy of Ayn Rand. Particularly if you're a young person interested in the ideas, interested in studying them seriously. And if you'd like to attend one of the Ayn Rand conferences, Ayn Rand Institute conferences for young people, for people serious about studying objectivism, then you should. And Ayn Rand Institute is offering scholarships. You can attend a conference in Brisbane in early December, a conference in Austin, Texas in late February, and now they've just opened registration for a conference in Berlin in middle of March. And the conference in Berlin, I just heard that Tara Smith is going to be one of the lecturers there, so you'll have an opportunity to see her there. In Austin, I think they've got Greg Salmieri and Ben Baer. In Brisbane, you've got yours truly and Nikos. You got to come to Brisbane just to see Nikos. And Nikos and me together on stage. That's firepower. And so Berlin is going to be amazing. It's a great city. Scholarships cover your travel expenses as well as tuition. And you should apply. You should apply for a scholarship. It's at aynrand.org/start here. aynrand.org/start here. If you're European, if you're in Europe right now, and you'd like to study objectivism and you'd like to dig deeper, apply. Apply. All right. Anne says, I read the Philadelphia Declaration and didn't see the free speech angle. Can you elaborate at all? It seems more for outreach with less mystical religious people. Okay, I'll get back to you. Copy pasting. I'll get back to you. I didn't have a chance to read it over the weekend again, but I will get back to you on that one. All right, Neo, do you think Israel will start producing all its own weapons after this experience? No, I mean, it doesn't have the capacity to do that. It just can't do it. And it already produces a lot of its own weapons. It needs more of them, so that there's no question. So, for example, it needs more arrow systems. It doesn't depend on the United States THAAD system that the United States just placed 2 batteries in Israel. If Israel had more arrow, more Iron Dome, and more missiles themselves, it wouldn't need America as much. That's true. But Israel's not going to produce every smart bomb. It can't. It doesn't produce airplanes. Israel started to design a plane years ago, and the project was deemed too expensive and was killed. Ultimately, rumor has it that the Chinese bought the design from the Israelis, and the Chinese have built a warplane based on that design. I don't know if that's true or not. Israel builds its own tank. I don't know about its artillery pieces. It builds its own rifles, but not all of them, and they still use a lot of M16s and AR-15s. And therefore, they need American ammunition. So Israel will never be in a position where it can produce everything. And it shouldn't. It needs allies, and it should cultivate allies. It shouldn't be dependent on them, but it should cultivate multiple sources of allies and multiple sources of weaponry. South Korea produces weapons. Various countries in Europe produce weapons. The United States produces weapons. Possibly other countries do as well, Japan. And Israel should diversify its sources and make sure that it has a robust relationship with these countries so it can source weapons in times of need and build up its own industry, which it has, but it needs just more. And it needs more stockpiles. What it really needs is stockpiles of weapons. And it needs to be at the very, very forefront of technology, which it is, but it needs to keep that edge. Thank you, Neil. Adam, if Trump wins, you will get an isolationist, nationalistic, and anti-capitalist Republican Party for the foreseeable future. Should Kamala win, at least Republicans would need to rethink or start thinking. Yes, that's exactly the point. Yes. Trump's victory will destroy the Republican Party for the rest, maybe for the rest of my lifetime. Certainly for the next decade. His loss does not guarantee anything. Does not guarantee that the Republican Party will do anything to change, particularly if the loss is small, which it probably will be. And we might lose the Republican Party anyway. But at least there's a chance if he loses. There's a chance if he loses that the Republicans rethink. When there's no chance if he loses, if he wins. No chance if he wins. Michael says, Patrick Ben-David is an anti-Semite. Watch his interview with Dan Bilzerian. I'll check it out. Jacob, I really appreciate you, Yaron. In a side note, I find your technical difficulties very amusing. The link's in the chat, but it's probably broken. It is kind of funny and pathetic at the same time. What can I do? All right. We keep trying to fix them, and they don't get fixed. Michael says, Kamala just called what Israel is doing a genocide. As dangerous as Trump is, there's no way I can vote for Kamala after that. That's pretty amazing if she called it if she called it a genocide. That is, God, that is pathetic. Pathetic. Another non-thinker who doesn't know what they're talking about. Michael, I'm convinced Kamala is drunk. I bet she has a bottle in that pantsuit. Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so. I mean, if she's not drunk and said it, that's worse, right? Michael says, didn't Aristotle say some people were only fit to be slaves? Doesn't this contradict his philosophy? I mean, his philosophy is not a universalist philosophy. He does not believe in universal values in the sense that he doesn't believe, I think, all human beings are fully human. Now, but that's a great question for tonight, for Robert. So bring it back up. Because Aristotle has a pretty bad view of slavery, of women, of non-land-owning Greeks. So he does not view all men as the rational animal, only some men as the rational animal. Michael, did you see Obama scolding black men for not voting for Kamala like he was talking to preschoolers? Yeah, he's very good at that. I mean, he has the ability to be professorial and to look down on people and to be aloof. And somehow people really like it. They elected him twice to president, and he was quite popular, much more popular than Trump and much more popular than Biden ever were. But yeah, he has that aloof, looking down on you kind of style. Adam says, towards the YBS endowment instead of to Harvard. Let's even it out. Only 569 million, well, billion, 999,990 to go. Do they have 600 billion? They have a 570 billion. Wow. Yeah. We're on our way, guys. An endowment would be nice. I don't even need 570 billion. No, that's too much. A lot less than that would be enough. God could do a lot with that. Really change the world. As good, Michael says, as good as America is, it's basically a third world country compared to an objectivist nation. Yeah, I think that's right. It's hard to imagine fully how rich, successful, happy, prosperous, aesthetically rich we would be in an objectivist nation. Eyal. Yaron, my birthday is tomorrow. Can you wish me a happy birthday? Absolutely. Happy birthday, Eyal. I don't know how old you are, but happy birthday. Have a phenomenal birthday. I assume you're in Israel. Have a safe birthday, a victorious birthday. Have a great life. Happy birthday, Eyal. Dan says, listen to Kemi recently, Yaron. Result is November. No, I haven't. I haven't listened to, I guess I saw something. I can't remember what was on. Didn't I talk about it here on the show? I think I talked about it here on the show. I hope she's not selling out. I hope she's staying online. I hope she's staying consistent. It turns out that Adam added a zero. The endowment is actually 50 billion. But I would do okay with 50 billion. I don't have to have 500 billion. So that just, saved you $450 billion, guys. The endowment only has to be 50 billion. We're well on our way. Thank you, everybody. I will see you all at 7 p.m. and then again tomorrow. But at 7 p.m. For Robin Mayhew. Don't miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really, really interesting. And again, if you have any questions in philosophy, he's a philosopher. He's the guy to ask. Bye, everybody. Have a great week. And thank you to all the super chatters and to getting us past the goal. Really appreciate it.